Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday. It's been 1 year since Russia launched its brutal assault on Ukraine, and the Canadian government is pledging more aid to the war-torn country. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Ottawa is sending another 4 Leopard 2 battle tanks to Ukraine. That's in addition to the 4 which have already arrived in Poland. Since the war began, Canada has committed over $5 billion in support to Ukraine.
Our support is also helping provide stability in Ukraine in the face of war, so that schools and hospitals can stay open, so that the heat and lights will stay on through the winter, and so that the government of Ukraine can continue supporting its people.
As you heard there, Ukraine has been struggling to keep the heat and lights on, and that is because of Russian missile attacks on its power grid. The Ukrainian government says about half of its energy infrastructure has been damaged. Earlier, I spoke to Ukraine's energy minister, German Galushchenko, about those attacks and Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats. Minister Galushchenko, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with the state of Ukraine's energy infrastructure because, of course, it's been under attack now since October. Can you give me a sense of how much is damaged and how difficult it is right now?
So, hello. So we can say that from the 10th of October, we are under everyday attacks to our energy infrastructure. And to estimate the damages, so we could speak about 50% of all energy system of Ukraine. The generation facilities, the transmission of electricity was hit by Russian attacks.
Okay, so what does that mean for people living in Ukraine, Minister? How are they affected?
I can tell you that from the 10th of October, we were going through very hard times. For our energy system, and during almost 4 months, there were cut off supply for our households, for industry. And of course, it's influenced the people. It's influenced not only the people, it's influenced the industry, the production, the economy of the country. But now it's already second week. We are living without any restriction for supply, only little restriction in some region where we need to do some another repairing of the transmission of lines.
So is the idea that there could be a total blackout still possible, or do you think that you've overcome the worst of it?
It looks like we are overcome, but you know that, of course, I'm not expect that they would stop these attacks to the energy infrastructure. So, of course, it's very difficult, let's say, to predict the level of damages in the future, but I must tell you that the situation when we manage to produce the electricity necessary level for consumption, it already gives us more strength on our feeling that no blackouts would be.
I want to ask you a little bit about some of the things that Putin has said about nuclear threats in the past couple of days. On Tuesday, he said that Russia would suspend its involvement in the last arms treaty with the U.S., the START treaty as it's known. And then on Thursday, Putin said he plans to deploy its Sarmat nuclear missile. Do you think at this stage that it is still possible for Vladimir Putin, that he is seriously considering nuclear weapons? Is this just posturing and threats?
You know, it's really difficult to comment what is what he's supposed to do, because I can tell you from the point of view of nuclear energy, and as you know, Ukraine is the state with the nuclear stations, and more than half of electricity in Ukraine produced from nuclear fleet. And I personally cannot expect that they could, for instance, shell the nuclear station. And that was what happened when they capture the Zaporizhzhia NPP. And of course, it's absolutely contrary to all achievements, all conventions, all agreements in the world concerning the nuclear safety and security. So that's why where is the line for Russians to, let's say, to attack or to use nuclear weapon? It's a question.
Does it worry you, though, that he's saying those things, both of those things in the same week on the anniversary of his invasion into Ukraine, that this is a real threat?
They repeated many times before. If you follow the messages, let's say from Kremlin, all this year of war, so they time from time they repeat these threats to attack by nuclear. Not only the president of not only Putin. So we can speak about the Medvedev messages about these threats, and so I don't know really whether they're real. It's really difficult to make any estimation.
You talked about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. What's the situation there right now? Because I know obviously the International Atomic Energy Agency wanted to create a safety zone around it. What's the situation for the power plant right now, Minister?
I can tell you that we are in constant contact with Rafael Grossi, the head of EIA, and the experts are there at the plant. Our joint feeling, and that was also discussed with Rafael here in Kyiv when he was months ago, and that the situation become worse and worse, and even from many points of view. So this draft agreement about the neutrality zone is still on hold. It looks like no some common approaches at this stage. Of course, we support any kind of such agreements, but in Ukrainian position, it should start with demilitarization of the station. The Russian staff, Rosatom, should leave the station, and Ukrainian staff should operate the station safely. So that is our key messages to this agreement. And of course, Russia gives absolutely opposite signals.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a couple of general questions, if I can, about the state of the war. Obviously, the focus right now, I talked to your colleague, Minister Reznikov, a couple of weeks ago on the idea that fighter jets might be needed. The Polish Prime Minister says he's ready to do that if the U.S. were to lead a wider coalition. How hopeful is the Ukrainian government? How hopeful is your cabinet right now that fighter jets will come at some point?
Of course, I am not an expert on this issue, but what I can tell you, of course, it helps us a lot, and I think that's very important to settle as quickly as we can, because I can tell you the concrete issues from the energy sector and what I saw. Before. So, for instance, when we ask about the air defense systems, and it was also long discussions how to get this, how to increase the numbers of these systems. And they started to attack the energy infrastructure. And what I see when we receive this, let's say, more modern air defense system, the level of damages decreased dramatically. So the same is the answer to the jets or whatever. So we need the jets to liberate our country.
Have you had any requests or demands from Canada to help with repairs to the energy sector there? I know we at one point sent over a bunch of generators, but is there anything else that Canada has offered that would be helpful to you?
I can tell you we are in constant communication with Canadian friends. So the minister, my colleague, Jonathan, so we discuss many issues, and I can tell you that really we received a lot from Canada. We are talking not only about the money, support of money donation, but also the supply of equipment in kind.
Minister, do you think that this has to end with some sort of negotiation at this stage? What do you think will lead to the end of this?
Of course, negotiations, but after our victory.
After your victory, is that what you said?
Yes, of course. So we need to negotiate after the victory with our partners.
So as we come up on this year anniversary, then how much longer do you think this can go on? How much longer can Ukraine fight?
I can assure you that we would fight as long as needed, and that is not only, let's say, my feeling. That is a feeling of Ukrainians. We are not tired. We are ready to fight until the victory, and I think that gives us the feeling that the victory is not far.
Minister Galushchenko, thank you for making the time for me. I appreciate it very much, sir.
Thank you very much.